Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to Podcast the Musical.
Holiday!
Da-na-na-na. That sounded like La Cucaracha. Not any holiday song.
Which is fine, because it's not
the holidays
not
anymore.
the holidays anymore.
It's probably a lot closer to Dia de los Muertos than it is to Christmas.
No, it's not.
I don't know when Dia de los Muertos.
That's the day before Halloween!
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well. It is going forward. Chronologically.
We follow a different calendar here at Podcast the Musical.
Yes, we do. It is business-based. There are 4 quarters.
No, it's convenience-based is what it is.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Our episode today is about community.
Yes!
Finally.
We've been waiting.
We have been waiting. We specifically have been literally waiting until the holidays to do it.
But then, crazily, let me tell you, we had a house fire at my parents' house, which kind of delayed things.
Slightly, yeah. And also, the holidays are just always super busy.
Yeah,
anyway. But yeah, Community, Season 3, Episode 10, I believe.
Is
that right? I don't know. Let me double check.
Looking it up.
Looking it up. Looking up all the things of the things.
You'd better have it on there in a couple seconds. Otherwise, we're gonna have it edited out and edit it out
anyway.
Cut
Cut it out.
Getting closer somehow.
Gosh dang it, I was right. I was right. So today we are talking about Season 3, Episode 10, Regional Holiday Music of Community. It is the second Christmas special? Like, specifically Christmas special?
So the one before this was a claymation one?
Right.
Is that right?
Abed's Crazy Christmas or Abed's Ridiculous Christmas. Or yeah, the one where they're all claymation.
Which, again, stretching the limits.
Yeah, pushing the boundaries of quote-unquote normal network TV.
Yeah, we just watched... It's so interesting to hear them talk about, because we just watched the commentary episode, and they were talking in there about how... commentary of this episode. And they were talking about how they thought it was so risky to do a musical episode. And they're like, this show has done a lot of risky things. And I think a claymation episode is way riskier than a musical episode.
I would agree. I mean, there's certainly more historical foundations
we know about
for
that, because obviously, we're aware of, like, everyone that ever existed.
Well, sure, that's kind of the entire point of our show. But... yeah, I would agree. I would say a musical episode is definitely less risky, more mainstream. Certainly now, after Glee and how much parody of Glee that they did, it's certainly less risky than a claymation
or a multiple timelines episode.
Multiple timelines or
like,
animation.
We couldn't make a podcast out of any of those things that they did before.
No.
We can make a podcast out of a musical. So.
It's true, because there are quite a few of them. I don't know how many claymation episodes there are of normal... Happy Days didn't do a claymation episode.
Yeah, but they did a musical episode.
Did they?
I think so.
We should do that one. I did not see that on our list.
I think it is.
Exciting.
Can I tell you one thing? Can I share something with you? I'm eating chocolate kisses right now, and they're all individually wrapped, and it's really bumming me out.
Because
I have to unwrap every single one. You can't just pop them, like you can pepper nuts.
Oh, like pepper nuts. I was like...
who's gonna eat one chocolate kiss? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I was confused because I was like, I've never seen non-individually wrapped chocolate kisses.
I propose we start now.
Hershey's.
Do that.
Tell us what you think.
Come on the show.
Just a bag of open chocolate kisses. Just a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
Better yet, hefty bag. Just full of chocolate kisses. Jingle jangling all the way into our hearts.
And mouths.
And mouths.
So Glee, or Community, or whatever the hell this was.
It is Community. Mm-hmm. It is a very obvious parody of Glee.
Right. Which you definitely, if you didn't get in the fact that they're talking about regionals all the time, and that they're super happy for some reason.
For no reason. Literally.
Right.
Like,
for no reason.
super happy in spite of terrible things happening.
Right. and the stakes are super high for something
super dumb. Yep.
The transitions from scene to scene are exactly like Glee. So
awesome.
They really
little
nail that point home.
Little acapella stingers.
Acapella.
Yep.
Should we talk about our experience?
With Community?
Yeah.
Why don't you go first?
All right. I've seen everything that has been on TV.
Okay, so season 1 through 5?
I think that's right. Or season 1 through 4. One of the two.
Okay. Season 5 came back after season 4 with a little bit of a hiatus. So season...
I think what it is I've seen like half of season 5.
Okay.
Anyway, so really I got in for the important seasons, which are 1 through 3. Basically 2 and 3.
Yes.
And
although
loved
I love season 1. Going back, I'm sure that I love season 1 now more having gone through it all. But I do that with every show. I do that with Parks and Rec. I do that with 30 Rock. I enjoy the characters in their more formative state in the earlier seasons, knowing what they turn into later.
So, like, the whole story of how they actually become friends and stuff. Because I think it's nice that it takes a while. Because they're not just like... Because the premise of the show is them all being friends. But, so there would be a tendency to want to rush toward that and get to that in, like, episode 3 or something. But it takes a little while for them to start trusting each other. Troy and Abed to become BFF, you know.
Or to do it in one episode, like the show Friends.
Right.
Where the pilot is basically all of them becoming friends.
Yeah.
Immediately. But, like, in Community, they're friends, but it takes a long time, and they have lots of divisive and contentious things that pop up throughout the entire run of the show.
Right. It has done a lot of things that are, like, really admirable in the risks that it's taken. And it doesn't care also.
Right.
So it's never like, we're taking a risk, what do you think? It's always like, look at this thing we did!
Right. And I mean, Dan Harmon even makes, when we were watching that commentary, he even makes this comment that says, we thought that doing a musical episode was a little bit ambitious, even for a show that tries to self-destruct every episode. Where they're just kind of
deliberately
going all out and seeing what happens.
Why does it feel like it always works? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're taking a risk, that should mean sometimes you fail.
Which
do they ever fail?
They do.
Okay.
They do in some things. I love everything except for season 4. I love everything.
That was the gas leak year.
And I still do enjoy watching that every now and then just because the characters are the same. They're not written exactly the same or, in my opinion, exactly correctly. Like true to form for the previous seasons.
Maybe it would be good to explain that.
Yes,
quickly.
sure. So the first 3 seasons of Community were written and produced, and the showrunner was Dan Harmon. And then NBC, i.e. Sony, fired Dan Harmon because he was difficult to work with, which, I mean...
Many people have said.
And
also, he's an asshole.
But he's brilliant.
But this is documented.
It's very well documented.
In this podcast
and also,
that I hate.
which I also love. Self-prescribed. But that does not preclude him creating an amazing television show.
Right, yeah.
And he did for the first 3 seasons. Brilliantly written, biting and clever and experimental and great. And then they fire him before season 4. And they bring on the showrunners, well, they're not really showrunners, that they promote basically from within these 2 head writers, or these 2 writers, 2 head writer for the show.
Okay.
And they kind of, I don't know, it just, the entire 4th season feels like they're trying to capture something that they don't understand and then try a little bit too hard.
Well, and I think that the fact that the network decided to do that basically shows how much they didn't
understand.
It shows how much the show was struggling anyway, so they didn't really care if it died because Dan Harmon was... Like, they didn't think that he was that important because they didn't think the show was that...
It's true. I mean...
That's what it seems like.
Consistently, they didn't do very well in the ratings. They were always losing out to various...
Survivor or whatever.
Reality shows, always to Big Bang Theory, which was in a very similar time slot. Which is a terrible show. Ugh, America.
Yeah, America,
what are you doing?
But bad, yeah.
Ugh, anyway.
Okay, if you're a fan, I mean, it's fun to sort of watch in passing. It's fine. Let's not alienate people, Josh.
Fine, I won't alienate the idiots that watch The Big Theory. It's fine.
Good
If you
job.
enjoy it, that's fine. It's not...
Fine, I respect you.
I respect your opinion, but it's not art. Anyways, and lo and behold, season 4 didn't do great. Mm-hmm. Didn't do so well. They bring him back for season 5, then cancel for season 6. They don't renew.
Right, but during season 5, they have to kind of explain away some of the weird thing characters were doing in season 4.
Exactly. They just kind of
like,
wipe the slate clean and then say there was a gas leak for an entire year.
and people were like acting crazy because they were inhaling gas.
Oh, it's great. And then season 5, they get canceled at the end of season 5. Yahoo purchases it, which is still a subsidiary of Sony, but is...
Oh, didn't know that.
Mm-hmm, it's very separate.
Yeah, sure.
It's separate. And they get kind of autonomy and make season 6, which it's kind of contentious whether you like it or not.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I enjoyed season 6 a lot.
Yeah.
The finale was great.
Okay. Is it the finale of the whole show? Are they done now?
That's up in the air still.
All right.
It wasn't renewed for a 7th season, but
they could get picked up again. Now shows have never have an ultimate end life anymore.
Hashtag 6 seasons in a movie.
I guess, yeah.
There are talks.
There are talks about a movie?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I wonder how they would do that.
I know.
Because they usually have a theme for an episode, so it'd be hard to have a theme.
They're all in
for a whole
space.
movie. Yeah.
The pilot dies.
Oh, okay.
Space Cowboys.
The pilot doesn't die in Space Cowboys. The pilot dies in Space Cowboys.
You just now remembered again.
He dies. And it's terrible.
It's so bad. Oh.
Okay.
Leaf on the wind.
Moving on.
Oh, okay. So, if you couldn't tell already, cut to my experience with Community.
Sure.
A lot.
A lot of it.
It's, probably one of the shows that I've seen the most. Yeah, it probably is. Unless you count Star Trek as a whole, like if you include TNG and Voyager and the original series. And
I would not have thought that.
Yeah. Unless you count all of those as one show as Star Trek, I would say I've rewatched Community the most.
Yeah.
Followed by either Star Trek or Parks and Rec. I love it. I love it for its cleverness. I love it for its originality.
This is another reason we've been waiting so long to do this episode.
Because I could talk for hours.
Because Josh is really, if you have any questions, tweet him, because he's the expert on this friggin' show. I mean...
I love it so much. And, I've listened to Dan Harmon's podcast, Harmontown, a lot. I've listened to podcasts that ancillary people that show up on Harmontown do. Kumail Nanjiani, who is a regular on Harmontown, has a podcast called The X-Files Files, where he watches X-Files. And it's great. And he's hilarious.
That's good. I
love it.
The X-Files Files.
Yeah. Matt Gorley is on Spontaneation a lot. I listen to his show, I Was There Too, about extras.
I like that show.
It's so good. What have you listened to of it?
I don't remember. I'm drunk. Remember when you gave me this whiskey?
Nope. I'm drunk.
We're together,
too.
by the way,
Yeah.
which is great, and will be maybe the first time in a while, or
since Scrubs. Oh, you mean the last time in a while?
Yeah,
for a while.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
last time for a while.
So the episode 310, regional holiday music. The whole premise of the episode is Glee is a virus. The Glee Club. Jeff slaps them indirectly with a ASCAP cease and desist because they're singing covers of songs without permission.
Can we talk about also, I love that the critique is that they're trying to make everything into hip-hop, into some hip-hop remix. And then they have these
5 seconds to the hip-hop remix. Remix. So they get slapped with an ASCAP cease and desist and go into a collective nervous breakdown, as the dean calls it, and they will not be going to regionals. So this very charismatic sweater vest wearing
Colby Smulders
marrying choir director shows up. He's equal parts Hanson and Manson, and he tries to get the study group to fill in for the Glee Club for the second time, which is one of the the gags that I really
weird
enjoy.
Mystery.
Yeah.
They were a Glee Club before, and there was the Glee Club that died.
In a bus crash.
We find out later that the crazy manic choir director killed them, which I guess, what does that mean? I mean, they were people. His whole deal is we got to get people who want to be Glee, right, to do it. And so he seems to have killed a bunch of people that wanted to be Glee. So his motive...
not his version of Glee.
What was his version of Glee?
Well, that's my assumption, is that he has a very specific version of this whole Glee Club ideal, right? Like the show, Glee. And maybe the previous Glee Club, they made it to regionals, and then they started to deviate. They started to do their own thing, and he's like, no, this is Glee, and then he killed him. Because, I mean, we see...
This is our life
This is our life now. Right, we see him kind of act that way with Abed, because, like, Abed's in. Like, he's all in. He's saying, let's do this. We're gonna be gleeful. We're gonna do this show. It's gonna be great. But maybe we should include Britta in the thing. He's like, no, Britta's a mute tree. And it wasn't his version of Glee. So
he's just a control freak.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Yeah. He has this ideal that you must live up to. Then they slowly become taken over by the virus that is Glee.
Right.
And I love
One by
it.
one.
One by one.
They get picked off.
They get pulled away. Bitten by the Glee zombies.
So we start first. Abed gets first. And Abed's really, he's the most vulnerable because he always just wants everyone to be friends. And so, of course, he's the one who gets taken in first. And he's the easiest to pull in.
Specifically, I think, because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
He has a very, very special soft part of himself reserved for Christmas. He's the one who...
He's so sweet.
I know. I love Abed.
I want him to be real, you know? I'm like, oh, Danny Pudi, why are you not...
Why you're not Abed?
Why are you not awkward and, like, you know, Asperger's and stuff?
But, like, I mean, in the show, his dad is Muslim, but his mom is not. I don't know if she's Protestant or Catholic or whatever, but she celebrates Christmas. And she's Polish. He's Polish on his mom's side. And so...
Wow, you know so much. Like, why would that even be relevant? It is now. It's just... There you have that fact
Danny Pudi
to pull out.
Danny Pudi's Polish.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah,
so that's
he's half Polish.
Interesting.
Again, and they kind of pull that in.
Fact that is used.
Trained in classical Polish dance, actually.
What is Polish dance?
I don't know, but he's trained in it.
Oh, can we YouTube him Polish dancing?
Polish dancing. But he gets pulled in first because, he is the most vulnerable and most in love with Christmas. And there's a great line in there where he says, I guess I just like liking things.
Yeah, which is kind of his whole mantra, you know? It's just like, he doesn't really care what other people think of him. And so even if they're down on him, I mean, his whole thing is just like, well, I guess I just like being happy. So, and then other people feel bad, and that's how he gets them to love him.
This is
what?
dancing.
Well, these are ladies with baskets. I don't think he's a lady with a basket, is he?
Maybe. Ooh, and wolf whistles.
People are whistling at them.
That actually sounds like it's in time.
Oh, it's
think
part of
that's
the
in
music. Oh, they're jumping and twirling. It seems like you gotta have a skirt to do this.
They look like watering cans.
I don't know anything about Poland. They have umbrellas.
They were taken over by the Nazis very quickly. That's all I know.
Oh.
Well, I mean...
That's a sad thing to know.
It's not a dig on Poland. I mean, like, that's the whole point
of A lot of people use it as a dig on Poland. Poland, we
No,
love
it wasn't
you.
Polish fault.
Poland.
It was fault. Anyway. World War II politics aside.
This concludes...
This is the World War II podcast.
World War II commentary podcast.
Yeah, so he gets pulled into the whole thing first because, he does like liking things. And they sing this fantastic little song.
The lyrics are some of the best.
Oh, it's so good.
In the episode.
So what is your favorite from that? Because there are two
both
in my mind.
Glee is... So they're describing Glee in the lyrics. Glee is something about letting your heart in your pants.
Yeah. Is that feeling
like
you feel when your brain finally lets your heart get in its pants.
Because it makes no sense, which is the point.
No, it does make sense. Well, I like it.
It's a funky metaphor, which is the point.
Well, yes.
So, and then the other line I like is probably your favorite line. What is it?
Oh, the one where Glee is the answer when questions are wrong.
Yes! Because he's like, how's your piano still playing this song? Because the guy gets up. And
don't ask questions. Questions are dumb.
Answer when questions are wrong.
Right. It's like, don't ask questions. Just feel the feelings and sing.
Feel the feels and sing.
Everything's better when cameras are spinning. Oh, it's so very good.
Yeah, and they put a lot of thought into every line, right? And so, like, that is what Community is putting a lot of thought into, like, every line is funny. We're going to... what's the angle to make every line have a funny?
Yeah, funny or meaningful in some way. Yeah. And then they...
In a way that sort of hits you, because you're like, wait a second, this was supposed to be funny. Why am I feeling things?
Yeah. And then so they move on from that, and there's this great shot where it's shooting Mr. Rad, who's the choir director, and it kind of slowly zooms out on him where he adopts this kind of maniacal grin with this like 3-part Glee transition harmony. And then they commercial break to Troy or Abed coming into Troy and Abed's apartment.
Yeah.
And like Troy's just happily eating a sandwich. I love his little face where he's like, this is the best sandwich. I love sandwich. But then Abed comes in, he's like, ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, and you just see this blank look come over Troy's face. He's like, what's going on? Abed, you look gleeful.
I want to say, maybe we should talk about for a second about, like, I've seen pretty much a lot of Glee, and you.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. So my experience with Glee is practically zero. I have seen one episode of Glee. I have specifically seen, and long-time listeners to this show should know the one I'm talking about. The episode, or why I've seen this one, the episode where Neil Patrick Harris is a guest star. Also, Idina Menzel is a guest star.
Right.
And it's
Josh
arguably the best episode of that show.
I mean, well, they've never seen any other episode.
Laura has. Laura's watched a lot of it.
So I've seen a lot of Glee, and so that's why a lot of this is really funny to me. So I am very knowledgeable. Just about the transitions and some of the jokes and things are especially good to me. I liked Glee. I stopped watching it, and then I watched a couple of episodes on the airplane here, or to Korea or somewhere. And I was like, I forgot there are good things about this show.
Okay.
It's just, they do so much music that it's really hard to be innovative for all of the songs that they do.
Also, it's really hard to pursue character development with song.
I don't know. It's been going on for a really long time.
Okay,
so
that's true. How many seasons are there?
8? I don't know. I feel like it's been on since... Well, it's got to have been on since 2010, maybe? I feel like it was like my senior year of college that it started.
So like 5-ish?
5-ish years. Maybe more. And, I mean, they have great singers on the show.
Yeah.
But it's this very Ryan Murphy sort of humor, which is like, this is funny, right, everyone? Right? It's funny. It's funny. You're supposed to laugh now. It's funny. And you're kind of like, well, I don't feel like... But you need to laugh right now. It's funny. So that's kind of how I feel when watching the show with the humor. I just don't get it, really.
6 seasons,
6
apparently.
seasons? Yeah. Okay.
So
it's like, March, should be done.
Yeah, March of 2015 is the last one. The summary for IMDb is the Glee Club members realize their dreams. Well, if that doesn't have finality, then
there's no good way to describe the whole show, because there's like times when they go to New York because they graduate high school at some point.
Oh, so, yeah, it's true. It's over 5 years. They can't just hang out in high school.
Be in high school unless they're...
As we are talking about a TV show at a community college where there's 6 seasons of it.
Yes, very true. I think that what Glee did is... So, all parodies aside, I mean, there's a lot to parody about Glee.
Right.
It's just goofy, and it... Like, the joke in Community is, like, the stakes are so low, but somehow that makes it feel even more important.
Right.
Which is true for Glee. And I don't understand what regionals is in Glee either. And they make a big deal. They say that word all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But they have done some really admirable things, I think, in sort of recreating music and really getting people interested in seeing music on TV again, which was kind of a thing. Musicals, you know. I like that they kind of got people back into that a little bit. And
yeah, I agree. I think that the whole resurgence of musicals as a pop cultural thing is due to a couple of reasons. It's due to Glee. It's due to Wicked. It's due to...
Totally.
I think that helped push musicals onto television. Or, I mean, onto movies. And I think movies kind of picked that up and
now we have more musical movies, and we have had, I mean,
Les Mis, Into the Woods.
Right. We now have these NBC musicals.
Right. When they did...
they did The Wiz most
The Wiz,
recently.
yeah. And then they did...
such a weird show, but the music was
I
great.
love The Wiz.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
The plot was really weird. I had never seen it.
It is weird. Oh, I watched The Wiz actually doing research for an original musical that I was in Korea, and it was the first time I'd seen it. And it was so weird and interesting and awesome to see, like, young Michael Jackson.
Right, yeah. The movie, I think, is iconic.
Oh, it's so good. It was wonderful. I loved it. I haven't seen anything but that. So I don't know about the what was the one that... What was it? Was it Carrie Underwood or Taylor Swift?
Carrie Underwood was in Sound of Music, which was, I think, last year, the year before. The year before was the NBC
But it was a TV
musical.
Right, yeah?
TV
Okay.
musical. I heard it was terrible.
Okay. I don't know anything about it.
I also heard Peter Pan was terrible, which makes me sad because I like whatever her name is, Alison Williams. I like her.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho.
So I'm glad for Glee for that, but there is a lot to make fun of. In fact, I think the biggest thing to make fun of about Glee that Community didn't quite tap into is the incredible polishedness of it. About it. Everything is auto-tuned and perfect sounding, and everyone is perfect looking, perfect choreography, perfect costuming.
Even the
it's a little overwhelming.
The handicapped kid is
like everyone
super gorgeous, and
just didn't really tap into that, which is fine. I mean, it tapped into a lot of other funny things about that show. But it's
which is one of the major strengths of Community, I think, is that it's a show about people striving to be better versions of themselves. They're not trying to change themselves. They're not trying to become different people. They're just they're recognizing their faults and trying to live in spite of them. And it's really kind of a beautiful thing, I think, like watching it. Abed has this little bit in the Remedial Chaos Theory episode. He goes through, at the end of the episode, he talks about each different person's personality, and he's like, Annie will always be driven, Shirley will always be giving, Jeff will always be a conniving son of a bitch. And those are their personalities, but they don't exclude those flaws. Like, Shirley is giving, but she also...
hides behind that.
She hides behind it. She has to give, but she also needs people to then receive it and recognize that they're receiving it from her.
Yes.
And then Annie is driven and drives herself to places, but if she doesn't get to those places, then she breaks down. And Britta hides behind her. She has a desire to help people, but breaks down in the face. She doesn't know who she is, and she breaks down in the face of not being able to help, or not knowing how, or thinking that she doesn't help enough. I love the show so much because it portrays very fleshed out characters in ridiculous situations. That's what I love about it, is they're very real characters and people with kind of real problems and personalities that are just put in just crazy situations. Like, what community college has a multiple day paintball thing going on? Or there's an episode in season 5, these two app developers bring in this app called Meow Meow Beans, and it turns the entire school into a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Where are we in this episode? We've talked about Glee. I think we've only talked about 2 songs.
Yeah! Okay.
No, we haven't. We've only talked about 1. We never even got to the rap.
Bueni Hori understand.
No, that's number 3. We didn't even talk about the rap. So,
okay.
After Troy puts down his sandwich...
oh, God. You're really good at picking up right where we left off.
Well, I can cut
There's
it. There's
a little continuity error right there,
there
too.
Is.
With him
in the
picking
first
up
shot,
and putting down his sandwich.
he has his sandwich down. The second shot, he's holding his sandwich.
Yeah.
Third shot, his sandwich is down. But he's like, Abed, you sound gleeful. Then Abed proposes that Troy, because Troy also really loves Christmas, and also he kind of loves loving the things that Abed loves, because he loves Abed. And so he's like, man, I want to love Christmas, but my family doesn't love Christmas, and because he's Jehovah's Witness.
And I'm not supposed to love Christmas.
I'm not supposed to love Christmas. And Christmas is kind of, it's a hard thing to like around these people, which I think a lot of people can relate to if they enjoy something while being around people who don't enjoy those same things. But he's like, well, let's play a little game. Let's pre-dreamatorium this, where let's play a game where you are a spy trying to infiltrate Santa's workshop to understand about Christmas, so you can take down Christmas from within as a Jehovah's Witness. It's such a great little rap. I love it. It's so good. And obviously Donald Glover.
Did he write it?
He helped, but I don't think he wrote most of it.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he changed some words around, because like there are parts in there where it's just too technically proficient to be written by someone who isn't immersed.
A rapper. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
because, I mean, Donald Glover, for those of you who don't know, the actor Donald Glover is also a very good rapper named Childish Gambino, and he's awesome. Because the Internet, which is, I think, 2 albums ago, 2013 or 14, is one of my favorite rap albums ever. And I'm not huge into rap. I don't listen to a ton of it. But what I have listened to, it's one of my favorite ones, just because it's so high concept. It's so brilliant. It's a concept album taking a viewpoint of a person who goes from relative obscurity to fame, to falling from fame, to finding themselves throughout the course of the album. And it's brilliant. I love it. And it goes through so many different genres of both rap and music in general. It's awesome. Highly recommend it. Unless you are severely sensitive to language.
Or deaf.
Or deaf. If you don't like the F word or the N word, maybe stay away from it. But if you're like, whatever, then listen to it. Because it's great. It's so smart. So they do this little rap thing where they have these backup dancers, and it's very rap video-esque, where they've got the ring lights on the sunglasses and holding big microphones and fancy flashy stage. But they cut that because it's very like a harsh bluish, blackish stage, lots of really harsh lights and black background, and then they cut it with a really warm like scene in front of a fireplace sitting on Santa's lap in their pajamas, and then they cut back to the rap scene, and they cut back to sitting on Santa's lap. It's great. It's a wonderful little scene. And then they cut out of that, and they cut immediately to Annie opening up their little bedroom and saying, hey, what are you guys doing, rapping? And they're like, yeah, you want to rap with us? And he's like, yeah, wait. You never let me rap with you. What's going on?
And then Troy has creepy eyes.
Troy has awesome creepy eyes.
He has great creepy eyes, which then we transition to them deciding they're going to go after Pierce with the baby boomer song about how
good.
Santa was a baby boomer who invented music.
Yeah, and Troy Donald Glover did have some writing credits in this.
Oh, okay.
In the commentary episode, Dan Harmon was talking about...
Dan, your bro Dan.
Where my bro Dan. He was talking about how they had some weird lines for the thing, and he's like, I think we can make this better. He went to Donald, I think we can make this better. And Donald came up with the lines, fake butter and AIDS and Twin Peaks.
Which are pretty good lines in the thing.
There's some
kind of features.
Pretty awesome lines. Even though they're kind of chronologically fairly far apart, aren't they? I mean, like,
yeah.
Kind of AIDS was like 60s and 70s. Fake butter was even earlier than that. And Twin Peaks wasn't until the 80s, wasn't it? So,
well, I mean, AIDS, the epidemic was in the 80s, I think. And then...
Oh, okay. That's true.
Fake butter, I have no idea about the history of fake butter. Okay, so...
I'm going, just if we can segue, or just jump to AIDS real quick. There's a great line in, I think, season 2 of Community where Pierce is like, the 70s. Before AIDS, sex wasn't a big deal. It's like shaking hands. And then Troy's just like, hence AIDS. they do this whole little choreography thing, and it's fantastic because they have this little moment where, like at the beginning, they pull their caps out of their pockets and they put them on their head and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, and this little setup, and it's perfect because it's exactly
so
like
cute. And
exactly like a little show choir doing
persona of all these different eras and stuff. I want to say one thing about the accompanist. So they have the accompanist, and he's just kind of there, you know? Uh-huh. And he looks really similar to the accompanist that's in Glee, actually.
Oh,
and there was a joke that Glee actually made about him. So Rachel comes out at some point, and she wants to sing a song with Idina Menzel's character, and she's
Rachel,
got
the
music.
dark-haired girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
Main girl. Mm-hmm. And she goes, you know, she's like summons Brad, the accompanist. She's like, Brad? Oh, good. And then she kind of turns to Idina Menzel, and she goes, he's always just here.
That's awesome.
Which is funny because it's like,
it's very
you know, Brad is not a character. He's just like this background prop who plays music. And so,
he is on equal level of the piano. He is combined with the piano.
Truly,
if there's a piano, Brad will be there.
Yes. So they make that sort of same joke, probably unknowing that Glee made the joke too.
Right. Who's that guy? They look over and they're like, who's that guy? And he just waves.
And Pierce is like, you guys see him too,
right? You guys see him too, right. Which is great because in the last season, Pierce had been popping these pain pills and been seeing a bunch of hallucinations of a little man inside a helicopter. I'm not flying. There's a little man in there.
Yeah, they are also very good at like interweaving those things.
They do. They carry through quite a few of the jokes and stuff. Anyway,
they do this Baby Boomer Christmas, which all I really want to say is that Danny Pudi is a great dancer.
He's a fantastic dancer. His legs go for days.
Legs for days. They go all the way down to the floor, my friend.
Oh, and all the way up.
To his hips?
To his hips. Not farther than that. All the way up to where they should be. And then, so Pierce is taken over. So then next is Annie. Oh. I love it. I love it. She walks in to confront Mr. Red, and she would be the one to do it. She's like, you are doing something that is not appropriate for this college. You shan't do it anymore. Mr. Red says, but listen to it from our perspective, or something like that. And he goes, well, and then Danny Pudi goes, well, and then she turns around to try to escape, and Troy closes the door from where he's been hiding behind the door, supposedly the entire time, and then finishes up, well, and then scene cut.
Yeah, we just assume she's been taken over, and then we get perhaps the most known song besides the Troy and Abed rap in this episode.
But I would say conceptually the most clever as well.
Sure, yeah,
and I don't think that's why it's well known.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either, according to the YouTube comments.
But I think because of its purpose and its impetus, I think it's my favorite one. The lyrics aren't as clever as the rap, obviously, just because the rap flows better and there's more lyrics that have to flow better. But what few lyrics there are in this song are perfect. Each one is perfect.
And Alison Brie performs it perfectly.
Yes.
She has a great comedic understanding.
Mm-hmm. So the whole point of this song is that it's a combination of sexy and childish, which is gross.
Yeah, it's like a commentary on that sort of like...
that song.
Being cute and dumb is somehow sexy.
Right. And babies are dumb. Right. And you need to take care of...
And like the infantilization.
Right. You need to take care of babies and dumb women. So why don't we just lump them together?
Something, yeah. And so when you know, it's obviously Santa Baby, the song. Mm-hmm. It gets played every Christmas. So... we have this crazy idea of a sexy baby, which this is not the first time this has been brought up. 30 Rock did this too.
So did Mean Girls with Santa Baby.
Yeah, true.
I'm thinking...
No, they did Jingle Bell Rock.
Oh, they did do Jingle Bell Rock.
Yep.
But the costume was almost exactly the same.
Right, and this is the same costume that I wore in high school for show choir. we had an army of women in, like, the 16-year-old girls in these costumes singing Santa Baby with these, like, playfully sexy, right? Like, not like...
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like
with the really poofy, fringy...
No, I'm talking about the moves that we had.
Oh!
Where, like, not
slight hip
just
swinging.
Like, yeah.
Slight shoulder things.
And now when I listen to that song, I'm like, yeah, this is... What?
It's
she's
gross.
like, she's just trying to get Santa to give her stuff by being cute.
Oh,
and
the lyrics are so good. So basically, let's just walk through the lyrics.
Sure.
She comes out because Jeff says,
"This is beneath you, Annie.
This is beneath you,
You're
Annie.
You're
woman. Smarter than this."
Uh-huh.
And then B, you're Jewish. But then that leads into her saying, well, I guess I don't understand about Christmas. And then she does this little heel kick and a wink, and it's perfect. It's amazing.
Yeah.
She Alison Brie, awesome.
So
she
she progressively gets dumber throughout the song.
It's so good.
And more baby.
More babyish. She's like, teach me how to understand Christmas. Show me how to open a box. I'm like, ugh.
Wow, we're starting there.
Yeah, and then
it's
she's
starting
like,
strong. Do I trim the
tree or the deer? The deer.
Does the stocking go here on my head? I can't see.
She puts a stocking on her head, can't see.
But then at some point she gets knocked down on the floor and she starts crawling around and going, Plain Hody, understanding Christmas.
Mistletoe for Edie tastes good. I'm a silly Christmas baby. And then the end of the song is basically her saying, you smarty, me dumb, help witty, have fun. Boopy doopy doop, boop sex. Blah.
Which is so, like the smashing together of like, women are sexy when they act like babies, right everyone?
Although, I kind of like I am reminded of Betty Boop as a cartoon.
Yeah. Yes.
Kind of feels that way.
Yes.
I mean, like, even her costume is fairly similar, and the way she speaks is very high and a little bit of an affectation and kind of speech impediment and...
Well, it's the whole idea of, I need help. I don't understand.
Which is stupid, because Betty Boop came about at the same time as World War II and Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah.
Like, can we not whatever. Stupid America. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that finishes.
But it's a great little commentary on that sort of whole idea. Unfortunately, YouTube seems to and a lot of
we haven't learned much
take
apparently.
It the other way.
But then Alison Brie has the best line of the show. Jeff says, at some point you hit diminishing returns on the sexiness.
On the Christmas sexiness.
Yeah, and she's like, what's a diminishing... Like she can't...
She delivers it perfectly.
Oh, it's so good. While she's like with her, you can see with her left hand, she's like twisting her hair, kind of like, what's going on? But like her dress, it's perfect. It's a really, really funny scene. And I think if you take it at face value, like I'm assuming a lot of these YouTube commenters did, you can miss a lot of it. And it's because it's not obvious, sexy thing for just being a eye candy scene.
But it's also not like, unless you're really listening to the words and understanding like the point of why she's singing that and why it's sort of a commentary in some ways, you're just gonna take it as like, oh, Alison Brie has boobs and also she's being sexy with them. We rarely get to see them because she's this prudish Annie most of the time. So,
which is really funny because in the previous season 2, there's a point where Jack Black is actually in the show or in the episode, and he's like, Annie's gonna move her luscious body, and like he's doing his Jack Black thing where he's making up a song, and Jeff says like, Annie's young, we try not to sexualize her,
and, that's like
and then they proceed to sexualize her throughout the entire show.
Yeah. Which
funny.
Is only okay because she's actually like 30 years old, so.
Right. Exactly.
But it's true. She's supposed to be like 18.
Yeah.
That was...
So Jeff is then zombified by that.
Right.
And then they move to another...
To Shirley, which is my favorite one.
It's
just
such
because
a good
it's like,
scene.
It's just the kids singing about public school won't teach us about whose birthday is it today? Cut the cake now.
Cut the cake, my lord.
So Shirley gets taken in by The idea that public school doesn't teach them about
Jesus during Christmas.
During Christmas.
Oh, man.
They don't go tell you.
They don't. That's what they do. Oh, and all those little lines that Shirley has are ad-libbed, and they're brilliant. I'm so glad that they left them in. We were listening to the commentary, and Yvette Nicole Brown was saying how she was just saying dumb stuff while they were singing. She was like, I'm so happy they left some of those in. So I was just saying dumb things. So that gets to her, and then it cuts to...
Britta's
the only one. Yeah, Britta's the only one left, and she's like, Jeff, they've got them all. They've got them all. And then it is a direct parody of the final scene of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is a wonderful movie. It's appropriate in this whole zombification takeover genre, where the camera zooms in onto inside Jeff's mouth, and then boom, it's regionals or whatever it is.
Yeah, their performance thing. And someone's the Mouse King at some point.
Abed is supposed to be the Mouse King.
Right, and they do this very awkward hip-hop dancing where they're like...
Ba la 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 holla!
Great.
And the choreography is super, like, stilted and robotic and... Oh, just meaningless. It's
hip-hop with quotes around it.
Hip-hop with very visible quotes.
The hip-hop dance. And Britta ruins it because Abed realizes, oh, wait a second.
Mr. Rad is not going... He's not doing this for them or for the glee or for Christmas, which is what Abed wants.
Yeah, and
Abed is doing this for Christmas. Yeah. Mr. Rad is doing it for himself. And then he's like, Britta, Mr. Rad said you need to be the Mouse King. What? I'm supposed to be a mute tree. It'll help us get to regionals. I knew it! I don't know the lyrics. They're in your heart, Britta. Doy! I love it. And then
she sings so great.
And then she comes out, and it's the perfect lyrics. They're just combined with her, like, stompy dance and her brown unitard and just with, like, the pine
holly on her
shoulders and this crown that's too big for her head. And then Mr. Red comes up on stage and says, "No!
I killed them!
I killed the old group, and I'm going to kill the new one, too." And then he goes, "Look, Kings of Leon!" And then he runs away. And that's pretty much the end.
That's pretty much the end. We get to Abed, and they're caroling, and they're fine and happy, and that's fine. Yeah, it was so good, you guys. If you didn't watch it, well, then go away.
If you didn't watch it, then start from season 1, episode 1 of Community.
That's so much
and watch
information
all
to
of
take in.
I know, but it's so good. It's worth your time.
If you want to be friends with Josh, that is what you need to do.
Or don't. If you want to be friends with me, just come over to my house. We'll watch it together.
Aw, nice. So, Brian, we'll see you soon. Else things?
Sure. Do you want to do YouTube comments?
Sure.
We can segue into Kayla's Feminism Corner.
Segue! Alright. Several comments about the Baby Boomer song. People were asking if Chevy Chase was really singing.
Yeah.
Which, once again, people...
He was terrible.
If it's bad, then it is the actor singing. I don't know why this is a question. Mm-hmm. Maybe because his voice was really low. Anyway.
Maybe.
Screenwriter John says, "I love the girls' reaction. Those two are never gonna get laid."
Wait.
Apparently, when the girls are freaking out, it's like...
I think it's... The girls' reaction was them looking at the guys and saying...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Right. I don't know. That's not funny. Okay.
No, it's dumb.
Yeah.
It was funnier when I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah. In Annie's baby song...
Oof.
I had to traverse a lot of really gross things. Mm-hmm. But Cold Jeans says, "Thumbs up if you have a sock at home with Annie's name on it." Wait, is that a masturbation joke?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that. I'm sorry. I thought it had to do with stockings.
You know what's so funny? No. You know what is so perfect about this whole moment right here? Is... in season 2, when Annie wants to help Britta with her activism and like with this oil spill, Annie is acting like kind of kitty and like, "Oh, help the seals, blah blah blah," but she's doing it kind of like unbeknownst to her, you know. And then later on, Britta says to her, "So you're saying you're acting all like that acting like that, doing all those things for that money, while not knowing that all these guys have a sock at home with your name on it. And then Annie says, I think if they want to make a sock puppet out of me, it's none of your business.
Okay! So that comment is also gross and makes more sense
it's
now.
Perfect parallelism.
Pull it out, take it out, take it out.
No, we're leaving that in because it's perfect.
Oh my God.
It's perfect.
It shows my ignorance.
No.
Okay.
No.
It's fine. I don't care. In Troy and Abed's rap, B-Rad Gluckman says, one of these days I hope to fully appreciate the depth of that December line. This is the December.
This is the December. If seasons, if something were seasons, if this were seasons, then this December would be the December of our December. Which you were saying.
Well, it has no point.
It has no point. It doesn't inherently.
So Danny Pudi in the commentary says that like he gets so many questions about that line as if it's some like cryptic, mysterious like clue to something or
which
reference.
It's not really. It's kind of a surface meta thing. Like it, and you were saying it's kind of a obscure reference to the Shakespeare. Now is the winter of our discontent.
Yeah.
Which
or
it is.
John Steinbeck.
Or that too, but isn't it from The Tempest? Okay. Anyway, but the meta part of it is that this December, meaning season 3, has been the darkest December, the darkest Christmas, the darkest timeline so far of Community.
I feel like that's reading too much into it.
Yeah, maybe, but but they talk about it. Abed talks about this Christmas being the darkest Christmas.
Sure, yeah, but I don't know
of this
if it's
episode
connected
twice.
to that line.
It might not be. And it might just be a rhymey thing.
I think it's a rhymey, funny thing.
Cool. I like it the other way. Because everything about Abed is so meta anyway that I like carrying on that theme whenever I can find it.
Okay. The last thing I have is Broken Narcissist saying, F the wire. I get it. Racism is layered. Community smartest show of all times. People are so weird. They say things on the internet that don't make sense. Why are you saying this?
Where do these things come from?
Why is this a thing that you decided you needed to publish on the internet?
I know. And part of me is like, I
don't get what is Community saying about racism that the wire is saying incorrectly to you. Broken narcissist. Anyway. YouTube was disappointing this time.
Yeah. Oof. Quiz. All right, let's see.
Track that reference.
I'm sure a couple of these might have already talked about them. What is the significance of the song at the end? We'll see you all after each Nels. What is the significance of that? Why did they sing that? In addition to the recurring joke of regionals.
Did it have to do with, like, the season break?
You're close, yeah.
I don't know any more things.
That's fine. That's good. That's good. This episode of Community was the last episode of Community before the December season break, the winter season break. And the next episode of Community was going to come back after the mid-season premiere of Glee, which was going to be them at regionals.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's silly.
Yeah. I'm going to give that point to you, though.
Thanks. I think I'm going to get a lot of points.
Yeah, especially since we've already talked about this. What is Teach Me How to Understand Christmas a parody of?
Santa Baby?
Yep. What is the Inspector Spacetime Christmas DVD that Abed Hines, what is that a specific parody of?
I mean, Inspector Spacetime is Doctor Who.
Right, but the specific holiday special is about something that's not Doctor Who. Even though Doctor Who...
Star Wars Christmas?
It is, yes. Good job. Even though Doctor Who has done... traditionally does a Christmas special every year, they're not the same thing. Like the Star Wars Christmas special was super cheesy, bringing on like weird bands that nobody cared about, like weird storylines and blah blah blah. Good job, that was good.
Yeah.
What is the significance of Mr. Rad at the end saying, "Look, Kings of Leon"?
what I thought about it, because I don't think I know, but what I thought about it was that it was like Kings of Leon is one of those bands that are like easy to cover in show choir.
Yes, but also, semi-famously, Kings of Leon were fairly adamant about their music not being used in episodes of Glee.
Really? I
Yes.
didn't never hear about that.
Yes, which it also kind of ties back to...
What songs, Kings of Leon, what songs do they have?
I don't know. I don't listen to them.
Like, I feel like that's, like, I don't know, someone insignificant saying, Glee, don't use my songs.
But it also kind of goes back to... Well, actually, I just make it into another thing. Jeff says, in a line, he says, not liking Glee Club doesn't make us bullies, and implying that is reverse bullying. What is that an implication of?
That sounds like something Jeff would say from that show Community.
Yes.
Thank you.
Also...
Point.
Who's the creator of Glee?
Ryan Murphy?
Right. He went on a kind of a rant about people who didn't want to let their songs be on Glee. And so he was like, you don't want your songs to be on Glee, that's bad, blah, 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 blah. And so he's saying, like, not liking Glee doesn't make you a bad person, but implying that not liking Glee makes you a bad person makes you a bad person.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a dig at that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, which we saw in the commentary. I didn't bring it up when we were watching it, or when we were talking about that the Glee Club at the beginning of the show. All of those people are actually friends of the writers. Like they're all brought on by the writers.
Cute. Is that a question?
No, it's done. Good.
It's a fact.
It's done. I think you got all of them. Right.
Enough of them to
maybe
celebrate.
One? Yeah.
Candy kiss for me.
Candy kiss for you. Whiskey for me. Ratings, or should we? Let's go through it. What was your favorite song?
Oh,
let's just do that.
Well,
what was your favorite song?
Who should make it?
Oh yes, sorry, that first.
Who should make it?
Don't.
I think he's too funny for Hamilton.
I also want to see Hamilton. Maybe I just want to see those two things. I just want to see Hamilton and also Donald Glover in anything. So put those two together, the Venn diagram, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Circle Venn diagram. Once again, should we rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or song?
Oh, my favorite song.
Yeah. What was your favorite song? Boil it down. Favorite song.
Gosh, you're making me do this.
Yeah, I am.
You're so mean.
I'm sorry. Buen Hody understand your question.
I know, Buen Hody understand your song. Pick, shoot, wish. I just really like that the little
gospel,
choir.
Gospel song.
It's so funny.
It's great.
So funny.
It's great. That's so.
Yeah,
funny.
I'm just not over it, and it's great.
It's awesome. I agree. Conceptually, I think that the Santa Baby parody is brilliant, but as an actual song, the rap is my favorite. I love it. Not just because of the song, but also because of all the elements that come together that contribute to it being a really good parody of a rap video itself. Like, juxtaposed with them.
with the happy
with them
little
in their
scenes.
little footy pajamas sitting on Santa's lap. That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
I love every bit about it.
Yeah.
And also there's a great... When they show that picture of the clock and the timeline of each hour is a different picture.
And then there's like the last 4 are like
Are
just
blank.
gray.
That's a reference to the Dan Harmon method of storytelling.
Which is,
it's really interesting actually, and it kind of comes up a lot. And if you haven't seen it and you kind of like Community and what's going on there, I recommend watching the Harmontown documentary. I think it's on Netflix. It's actually
is that a podcast, a documentary?
It's a really good. It's really good. It's
and
really
I hate
good.
him,
I
so
know you don't have to watch it.
I don't think I will.
But the thing about the documentary is it's not about Dan Harmon. It's about this and he even brings this up and talks about it. There's this this thing of storytelling where you start out from a position of knowing nothing and then go through your trial by fire and then reach your climax but your climax is at the same time, your lowest point, and you kind of go through this like, I don't know, like almost a phoenix moment where you're burned to nothing, and then you reach a resurgence of who you actually are, and then
so very Carl Jungian.
Yeah, kind of, and he would agree.
Star Warsian.
Yes, it's very 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 tropey, but
Odysseus and
yeah, and then but the point is you kind of reach this point back at the beginning where you are still yourself and are back at the same point as you started, but as a more not even change, but just as a more precise version of who you actually are, and I liked, and it kind of flows with this clock thing where you start at the beginning and then end at the beginning.
Well, what are the pictures in the clock?
The pictures themselves are actually images from this third season, and there are some images on there that appear in episodes that actually broadcast later than this episode. So they were like preempting some of those episodes. There's an episode of there's a picture of Pierce's dad as a cartoon on one of the, like as a, like hour 9 or earlier than that, hour like 5 or something.
You don't need to be that specific.
Doesn't matter. People are going to vet this, Kelly. You don't understand the internet.
Brian, you care
Thousands.
too much.
Brian, stop doing it. But it's a picture of cartoon Pierce's dad from an episode that's later where they go into this video game that Pierce's dad created.
That's a great episode.
It's an awesome episode, and there's people have actually created this game.
Oh my god!
As an actual real thing. I have downloaded it. I've played a little bit of it. It's been about a year since I've looked at it, but
I should look at it.
It was really fun. But I love how it only goes a certain distance, and then the last maybe quarter of the clock is blank, showing that this story hasn't been completed yet.
That is like way deeper than anything I could have imagined for that image in that song.
I know, and it lasts half a second. But you don't understand how much I love the show.
So much thought. Yeah, you know a little too much about this.
I do, but also I think a lot of people don't understand how much thought goes into television shows.
Well, good television
certain television shows, and especially shows like Buffy or Community, or these shows that have multiple writers with a specific leader with a vision. So like Dan Harmon has a vision for these episodes, and these people write these things, and then they all get into the writers' room and they discuss them, they work them out, and like each person has their own idea of how the show should go, and then the person with the vision gets to decide how things go. But when you have so many streams of information coming to a centralized idea, there's inevitably going to be layers and layers of nuance to these shows and these scripts that just happen organically through multiple streams of input, right? So it's different than one person coming up with a thing on their own, and maybe it's a little more disjointed, and you see that a lot actually throughout the show. There are jokes that feel different and that don't maybe don't land quite as well or land differently, and it's a result of multiple people writing one story, but you get those layers, and I think it's awesome. I love that Community does that. I love that Parks and Rec does it. I love that 30 Rock does it. That's the whole way SNL writes all their stuff. Even I haven't done a lot. I haven't looked at a lot of SNL stuff recently, but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like SNL is like, just write it, and get it done and perform it now.
Sure, and reading both Tina Fey and Amy Poehler's books, you get a lot of that. But you kind of see behind the curtain a little bit of how these things come about, and it's really, really interesting. So, anyway, Community, watch it. Catch Community fever!
Oh, God. It's a virus to spread people to health, or whatever his line is.
Community is the answer when questions are wrong.
Yeah!
All right, ratings.
All right.
What do you say? First, Okay, no, second. So you rate it, and then you guess what I'm going to rate it.
Oh, God. All right. I'm going to rate it 9.5 mistletoe for Edie.
Okay.
Because it's great, and it's so parody heavy though, that it's like less enjoyable as a musical episode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So I would have loved an entire Yvette Nicole Brown song.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So because of those things, I'll knock down a little bit. But I was so happy with it, obviously, if you couldn't tell, throughout the whole thing. I think you're going to rate it high. I don't know, Josh.
Well, that's a good guess.
Is it a 10?
It's a 10.
Yay!
It's absolutely a 10. I couldn't rate it anything less than a 10. And it's not... It's due to so many things. It's due to... I love Community. It's because I'm so close with these characters. I can't separate my viewing of this show from my history with the rest of the show, with the characters. But... that being said, I bet if I didn't know Community, I bet I'd rate it probably an 8 or a 9.
But it did still do a lot of the things. Yeah, it's
very
high because it did all the things that we like. With the characters, the actors of the characters singing, original songs.
The characters actually singing them as opposed to dubs.
Right, yes. And, like them dubbing.
Right.
Yeah. And also a lot of songs.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the three things that we always
always kind of harp on. Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. But I see your point where you can't separate this episode from its parody of Glee and of its kind of history of itself a little bit. And if you do that, it becomes a little bit less than what it is. Which is fine, because I think that wasn't its purpose. Its purpose was to be parody and to be a building on itself. And I love it. But I think if I didn't have the experience that I do have, I'd rate it a little bit lower, probably an 8.5 or a 9. But absolutely, right now, 10 out of 10 Jesus cakes.
Got the cake,
Get
my
the
lord!
Cake now! Got the cake, my lord! Good.
Hey everybody, it's Kayla. Just wanted to let you know what we reviewed so you can watch it for next time. We watched Bob's Burgers, and it was episode 1 of season 5, which is called Work Hard or Die Trying, Girl. It was raucous fun, and so I hope that you watch it. It's on Netflix, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks everybody for joining us. I am Josh Rhodes on Instagram.
I'm Vic. I don't know. My name is Kayla Vicks.
Search for it on Instagram
or Twitter.
Joshua Rhodes on Twitter. Don't bother. It's nothing. But if you want to contact us, Josh at podcastthemusical.com, Kayla at podcastthemusical.com, podcastthemusical.com for our archives and all that stuff. Search for Podcast the Musical on iTunes. You might have to search for more in the podcast thing, but we're not too far down. I did notice that when you type in Podcast the Musical in iTunes, it actually auto-completes our name.
Or a name that is Podcast the Musical.
No, it has the exclamation point in there.
Really?
Yeah, it's us.
Do you think it's from us searching for ourselves?
Maybe.
I choose to think no. Okay, fine. Or Brian. Thanks, Brian. Who loves iTunes.
He loves iTunes
Not at all.
So much.
We are on Twitter at Podcast Musical.
Yeah.
Because I'm so good at knowing that.
Nice.
We are on Facebook also, Podcast Musical.
Yep.
You could also just search Podcast the Musical.
Yep, facebook.com/podcastmusical. Also, we show up in every, Android app I've looked at. You just, when you go to, add podcast or whatever, you just search for Podcast the Musical. Boom, we're right there.
Well,
boom.
So everyone should get an Android is what we're advocating for here.
Yep. Looking for my phone in my pocket.
Freaking Siri couldn't get me to Josh's house today. I can't even believe that.
Wanted to take her to a different town.
It wanted to take me to Dickerson, Kansas, which no one's ever heard of.
No. Who would want to go there?
I don't know. Dickersurians?
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. We love you guys. Bye.